In Microsoft Excel, when you press the Alt key on the keyboard, you get letters and number representations on your tabs and ribbon. So presently you can see that I have some letters which are presented on these individual tabs on the Microsoft ribbon. And also when you move upwards, we have some numbers which are also appeared on the quick access toolbar. That is the individual commands that we have on the quick access toolbar. This particular system is very powerful and useful, especially when your mouse is not working properly. I always share keyboard shortcuts in my tutorials and on this particular channel because sometimes it might be tedious when you have a frozen mouse working and also having your mouse not working properly, especially when you want to perform some tasks in a quick way or in a particular environment you find yourself in. And this keyboard becomes your savior. That is why I normally share keyboard shortcuts on this particular channel. So in this case that we have these numbers and also these letters represented on our individual tabs, you can perform so many functions. Especially if I want to get into the insert tab and then get access to some commands, I can press the letter N on the keyboard. And as usual, when you get access to a particular tab, you get its related ribbon with its individual commands. And this particular interface has been shared in a video I've already made that gets you in depth into Microsoft Excel, showcase you all the interface and commands that you need to know to get started when you want to use Microsoft Excel. I'll link that video in the description below. You check it out after watching this special video. So anytime you get access to a tab, you get its related ribbon, and also you can see some letters or some alphabet representation on their individual commands. To cancel this, you press the escape key on the keyboard, and this brings you back to the individual tabs and its letters. And also to get rid of this operation, you press the escape key on the keyboard. Now when you hold the Alt key and the letter F on the keyboard, this quickly jumps you to the backstage view where you have your interface showcase. This is the backstage view, and holding the Alt key and the letter F, have this page or this interface showcase to you, and you have some letters that are also on this individual commands. So if you want to get into the info interface, you press the letter I. If you want to get into the save as interface, you press the letter A. And as usual, if you want to close this particular workbook, you use the letter C. So using the Alt and the F also jumps you to the backstage view and also represents you with letters and alphabet on your individual commands. So if you don't have the mouse to click on the file menu and get access to your individual commands or individual services, you can use the Alt F and then you get access to this interface. Let me show you an example. If I press the letter P on this particular interface, this takes me to the print settings configuration interface, and I have a preview of my data in this area, and also I have some letters represented on this individual commands in the print setting interface. So if you want to get into the copies field, you press the letter N. If you want to print, you press the letter P. And also if you want to get into your settings of choosing your active sheet or your selected data, you choose the letter A. If you want to adjust your margins, you press the letter M. So you can see that this is very simple to follow, and also it gives you a clear understanding of how to perform certain commands and operation when you have Microsoft Excel, especially when you are using your keyboard or you are a keyboard fanatic. So to cancel from this interface, always utilize your escape key, and then this takes you back to the previous command, escape. Then we get back to our front stage view. Now if I hold the Alt key and the letter A on the keyboard, this takes me to the data tab, and then this is the data tab, and I have its related ribbon. Previously we were access to the home tab. Now we've gotten to the data tab and we have access to the data ribbon of Microsoft Excel, and we can perform our flash fill using the letter FF. We can remove duplicates by pressing the letter M. We can also perform other actions, and all these commands, they have their letter representation. And as usual, to cancel, you press the escape key on the keyboard. Now if I hold the Alt key and the letter L, this brings out the developer ribbon, especially if you have activated the developer tab on your Microsoft Excel interface. If you don't have this activated, you can go to the file menu and activate it. I have a video that shows you that. I'll make sure to drop that in the description below, how to activate the developer tab, which gives you the room or the space to perform advanced actions and operations in Microsoft Excel. Especially, you can write some codes using your Visual Basic for application. You can perform some macros or record macros, and also you can insert some checkboxes to make some task or interactivity operation in Microsoft Excel in an easy way. So using the Alt and the letter L always opens up the ribbon of the developer tab. Canceling, you use the escape key on the keyboard. If I use the Alt key and the letter M, this brings out the formulas ribbon. So I have the formulas tab activated, and these are the commands in the ribbon of the formulas tab. And as usual, as I said, anytime you get access to a particular tab, you get its related ribbon. So if you want to perform calculation options, whether automatic or manual, you can press the letter X. So you can see that I have this option selected, and we have a drop down out of this particular option. We have automatic, we have manual, and also we have automatic except for data tables. So if I press the escape key, I'll get to all the individual letters of the commands in the ribbon of the formulas tab. And then if I want to trace precedent, I'm going to choose P. If I want to show formulas, I'm going to press the letter H. If I want to define some name or perform some name range operations, I'm going to press the letter M. All these are very easy to follow because they give you a clearer view. So let's give a thanks to Microsoft for creating such simple anatomy for Microsoft Excel, for Excel users to have a better operation and better usage of this special software. To cancel this, we press the escape key on the keyboard. Now, anytime you open any of Microsoft Office products, that is Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook, always the default tab that is selected is the Home tab. So presently I am in the Formulas tab. If I want to quickly jump to the Home tab, though I can use my mouse to click, but as a keyboard fanatic, I'm going to use the Alt key and the letter H. Now, using this keyboard shortcut, that is the Alt and the letter H, I have the Home tab selected and also have access to all these commands in the ribbon of the Home tab, and I have its letters, representations, and also when I press any of them, I'm going to get access to its related command. I also have some numbers here, especially when you talk about bold, italic, underline. All these are going to work perfectly for you. So always make sure to select the data before getting to the interface of the ribbon based on the kind of tab you want to work within. So this is the Home tab and its related ribbon, and I'm going to press the escape key to cancel. Now in Excel, you can use Ctrl+K to open the hyperlink dialog box. You can also use the Alt key and the letter I, that is pressing the letter I twice on the keyboard. So you can see that I have the insert hyperlink dialog box opened, and I can link whatever data that is selected to any file, any data or any footage, whether it be a picture or that is a motion picture or a static picture, anything that is on my computer system. If I want to link any of my data that I have in Microsoft Excel to it, so that I can open it during a presentation or during sharing of information between colleagues, I can use this particular insert hyperlink dialog box to make that happen in a faster way. So using the Alt key and pressing the letter I twice opens up the insert hyperlink dialog box. Canceling this dialog box is very easy. You press the escape key on the keyboard. Alt and the letter N brings out the insert ribbon. So we have the insert tab selected, and if I want to perform or add a slicer to my data, I can move to this particular section, which is the slicer option, by clicking. But because there is a letter representation on this command, I can press SF, and pressing the SF, I get this dialog box that says existing connections. Select a connection or this webhooks data model before I can perform this operation. Very true. Currently I have an empty cell selected, therefore I can't have the slicer working within this worksheet unless I select a particular data in this particular interface. So this is a dialog box that pops out if you don't have any data selected in your worksheet. Canceling this, you press the escape key, and that is going to close this particular window. Alt and the letter P. This brings out the page layout ribbon. So the page layout tab is selected, and we have its related or respective ribbon outputted. And this also have some letter representations, as you can see. And then if I want to get access to any of the commands on this ribbon, I'm going to press its letters and then perform that particular action. Canceling as usual, escape. Let's assume I want to jump to the review tab, Alt R. This jumps me to the review tab, and I have its ribbon selected. And also, if you want to deactivate the related commands, that is the letter representations of the related commands, you can press the Alt key on the keyboard, and this will deactivate all those representations on the ribbon. If I use the Alt key and the letter W, this takes me to the view tab, and in the view tab I have its related commands. So you see how I am navigating through all the tabs that I have on the menu bar, and also getting access to their grouped commands for better operation in Microsoft Excel. Very simple. So be a very good usage of your keyboard. I normally use keyboard more than the mouse when I'm working in the computing environment, especially at my office when I'm performing some actions. As a teacher, I type my questions. I just create certain database for my children to perform. I use normally the keyboard, and it makes me faster, and this gives the children the zeal and passion to work with the computer, and also they have a great confidence in you as a teacher, that you know what you are doing and you know how you have control over the subject that you teach in the class. So as an IT teacher or as an ICT teacher, when you are in your environment, make sure that you have a better control over the mouse and also the keyboard. For the keyboard, is a traditional device that every user must know how to use it, but the keyboard has so many functionalities, and if you have much control over this, it helps you to perform great tasks in Microsoft Excel, especially when you are in the computing environment. Now when I select this data, which is located in column C and row 5, and I hold the shift key and the F2 on the keyboard, this brings out this small box or this rectangular box, which is adjustable and gives the name or the username of this computer. And as you can see, I have this as Bossman. This helps you to display or type a comment about a particular data in Microsoft Excel. So in this case, I can type so I have this data is valid, specifically related to this data. So if I click here, now you can see that we have all this data in their individual cells, but this particular data has a red triangular shape above, that is to the top right corner of its cell, and that shows that this has a comment related to it. But if you click here, you will never see that. Only this symbol is going to showcase to you that this data has a comment, and when you click, this reveals the comment. But when you click outside this certain data, you don't see the comment pop up, but rather you see the symbol, that is the red right triangle that is located at the top right of this particular data. So shift key and the F2 is used to add a comment to certain data in Microsoft Excel. This is very useful, especially when you are collaborating with your colleagues in Microsoft Excel. Now if I have access to a particular database or a particular worksheet in Microsoft Excel, and let's assume that there are comments added in this worksheet, and I want to quickly identify it or select a comment, I can use Ctrl Shift and the letter O on the keyboard. So you can see that my selection has moved to this particular data. Previously I was in this particular cell. this was my active cell, which is F4, and that is located in the name box. So I'll still prompt you that you get into the description of this video and then check out the introduction to Microsoft Excel, and then you're going to have overview and understanding of the anatomy and other components of Microsoft Excel. That video gives you a deep dive into Microsoft Excel, showing you all the features. So click on that link after watching this video. So this is my active cell, and when I use the Control Shift and the letter O, this moves from this active cell to this cell, which consists of my comment. So if you want to add a comment, Shift plus F2, and if you want to identify if any of your data have a comment, you use Control Shift and the letter O. Now when I hold Control plus N, this is going to open a new workbook in Microsoft Excel, and you can see that we have the name as book 1. What if I want to switch between these workbooks that I have on my desktop interface? I can use Control Shift and the tab key. So I move to this workbook, 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 and workbook. So if I have multiple workbooks open on my desktop interface, I can use Control Shift and the tab key to navigate through and get access to whatever data, whatever worksheet I want to work within. Now if I select this cell and then use Control Shift and the space bar, this is going to select an active range or worksheet that consists of a data. So this particular data is an active range that is selected. This keyboard shortcut selects an active range within your worksheet. So you can see that this is a range of data that we have in this particular section. If I select this and I hold Control Shift and the space bar, you see that this is an active range. This is a range of cells without spaces provided between them. So anytime we want to select a range, then we use this particular keyboard shortcut. Let me move to this particular section. When I select this, Control Shift and the space bar, this is a range of cells and there is no spaces between it. But when you get to this column G and column H, select this, you can see that this has selected these 4 columns that we have here. It means that this is an active range. Why? Because we have a data under column E, column F, column G, and column H. We don't have any empty column between these columns that we have here. That is why this has selected this range, and therefore this becomes an active range. So to select an active range in Microsoft Excel, always utilize the Control, the Shift, and the space bar on the keyboard. Now if I have this selected and I hold the Shift key and the F3 on the keyboard, this opens up the insert function dialog box. This is when if you want to get access to a particular formula or function and perform some action in Microsoft Excel, this dialog box gives you the room to select your product, your sum, average, if, hyperlink. So if I select the if function and then click on OK, that is going to bring out the function argument dialog box, and this gives you the room to type your logical text, your value if true, and also your value if false. I'll have a separate video on function argument, but this is a beginner's guide to Microsoft Excel, especially if you want to identify how to insert data and perform some arguments using the available functions such as sum, min, max, if, the hyperlink, and other functions, that is the round function, any function that you have in Microsoft Excel. If you use this particular insert function dialog box, it gives you the understanding and how to follow some expressions or logical expressions to evaluate your data. So Shift key and the F3 always brings out this dialog box. So you can type your cell reference or you can select. So if I say E3 becomes your logical text, then you can move to this section. If this is true, what should happen? And if this is false, what should happen? So this dialog box gives you that clue and it helps you to analyze and manipulate your data in Microsoft Excel. These are the shortcuts I want to share with you in this video. Please put them into practice and become a keyboard fanatic in Microsoft Excel. Thank you, and I shall meet you in the next tutorial.